Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well. I am a little early. I thought I was going to be late, and so I changed the start time to 12:10. But here we are. For those of you that don't know, I'm Josiah Bob226. On this show, we talk about guys that we like, really brainstorm the slate, and then on the pre-lock show, which is at 5:30 p.m. That's for VIP members only. We talk about leverage plays, core plays, and really just more so the implementation of what we're actually doing on this slate and how I use the domination station. I just show what I'm doing on that slate. So a nice 4-gamer on deck, nothing to worry about too much. So far, DFS has been kind to us, so I appreciate that. Last 2 games, slates have gone well. But let's go ahead and dig right into it. We can start off with the Miami Heat against the Sixers game. Not my favorite one on deck, to be honest. From an injury news standpoint, Hero is listed as questionable. So if we find out that Tyler Hero doesn't play, that will move the needle for me a lot. Where I'll be more interested in taking shots on the other Miami Heat players like Butler, Adebayo, etc. So not something I want to dig into too much because he's questionable now. We'll get this news. We'll know if he's playing or not by the time we get to lock. So not overly concerned or stressed out, but something that I want to keep a good eye on. So yeah, I think it's pretty safe to move on. For the Sixers, they're pretty healthy. Only Dwayne Dedmon's out, which means I'm not super interested in them, to be honest. Bill Betts, good to see you. Thomas Dye, good to see you as well. Appreciate y'all for joining. But for me, this is 2 defensive teams facing off against each other. Joel Embiid has struggled mightily before in the past in this matchup. Of course, if he can be extremely efficient, he can definitely still get there. So probably not a guy that I'm going to fade on purpose, but definitely a guy that I'm not planning on being over the field on. And that's due to the matchup, due to previous games, and just not my favorite spot in general. James Harden, Maxey Harris, I have slightly more interest in. I want to see where ownership falls on these guys before I kind of make my final decision on who I want to take a shot on, but I am thinking about it. But outside, just in general, not my favorite game to attack in general. And multiple reasons for that. Like I said, 2 defensive teams, and then also lowest game totals on the slate. Typically not where you're going to get the best DFS fantasy production. Doesn't mean you fade the entire game, but not a game I want multiple guys of. So yeah. Moving on, we have the Hornets against the Pistons. This is where things get a little bit interesting. So for the Pistons, we have Bojan Bogdanovic listed as questionable. Jaden Ivey is out for personal reasons. Duran is out. Isaiah Stewart is questionable. Nerlens Noel is out. Cade Cunningham has been out for a while. Bogdanovic being questionable is huge just because he's a pretty high usage guy. With Ivy out and some of the other pieces that they're missing, Bogdanovic was someone that I had that I wanted to make sure I did not forget about. But if he ends up missing time, then the usage rates go crazy. Killian Hayes is someone that I already expect. Yeah, someone who's already going to be super chalky is Killian Hayes on this slate at 4,600 with Ivy out. If Bogdanovic is out, there's even more usage for Killian Hayes. And in my mind, that's good chalk that I'm willing to eat. Hayes has burned us before in the past. There's times where he can go out there and not do a lot. But against the Hornets, it's like, come on, man. This is your spot. This is your moment. Make it happen. So I do like Killian Hayes a lot. Let's dive in a little bit deeper into these teams. I like him, especially more if Bogdanovic ends up getting ruled out, but we don't know. Second thing, we know we play bigs against the Hornets. This has been working out for us really since day 1 of the season, and we've just been doing it ever since. Works out more often than it doesn't. What worries me is when some of these really crappy teams play the Hornets. I still like playing bigs, but we've seen it. I think we saw it a little bit last week too, where sometimes like even the backup center can end up having really strong performances. It can just get wild. So what that means for me, especially with like Duran and Stewart questionable, that means guys like Bagley are more viable for me. It means Wiseman's more viable. Just a lot more interesting options here. Plays that the domination station will probably like naturally include guys like Alec Burks and Diallo. So I'm not really, I shouldn't need to overthink that. I think I literally just got the notification that Bogdanovic is now ruled out. So yeah, long story short, we really won't have to think about this too much because I'm pretty sure the domination station is going to end up liking all of the starters. For me, I want to see where ownership falls and see who might end up being a little sneaky. I think it might be one of these bigs, Bagley or Wiseman, but we'll see. Stewart is also definitely viable if he ends up playing as well. So one of my favorite teams that I plan on having a ton of exposure to on this slate in a lot of different ways. JJ, good to see you, man. Muscala night, not gonna say no. I definitely understand why you're saying that. Mega Royal said Sim likes Burks, but I don't. Man, like Burks and Bay, those are the two guys I'm never the biggest fan of, but they have upside and ceiling, which is all I really care about, if I'm being honest. And so at 3,500, I'm willing to eat the chalk here against a bad Hornets team. If they were facing the Heat, I'll be like, you know what? Y'all have fun with that 60-70% ownership. But against the Hornets, I'm like, you know what? If it bites me, it bites me. I'll take my shot on it. Especially with Bogdanovic out. I feel a lot better about it with Bogdanovic out. Dave, yeah, definitely do appreciate you, man. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. Appreciate the support, y'all. For real. Jimmy Hayes, good to see you, man. Why the CM said I like Burks. Yeah, most definitely tonight. I was a little worried about the ownership earlier when we didn't know if Bogdanovic was going to be out or not. But with him out, it makes too much sense. To be honest, though, I am going to do more research throughout the slate and try to find a reason to not play some of these chalky guys because it's a 4-game slate. I have a little bit more time to think about ways of getting creative. But as of right now, it's good chalk. I'm not really trying to get too crazy with it unless something just kind of like really stands out to me on why I shouldn't do it. Brian Berg said, would you play Wiseman and Bagley on FanDuel? Ew. So, Brian, I always try to be honest with everyone. Like, I'm not a big fan of telling people to do things that I'm not doing. And since I don't play on FanDuel, I like to hesitate away from like telling people things that I would do. It looks like Wiseman still projects well over on FanDuel and at lower ownership. I kind of like it, especially if we have him projected to see slightly more minutes and he's 100 cheaper and lower owned. I like it, but it's much more risky on FanDuel because you have less options available for you. So, not an expert on FanDuel. I don't play over there a lot. Hesitate to say what to do, but I think Wiseman's viable at least. Yeah, Wiseman's gonna be 60% owned. Yeah, he's gonna be stupid popular. It's gonna be interesting to see where ownership falls, but I've been playing bigs against the Hornets all year, and I'm gonna keep doing that. That's one of the few staples that I keep pretty consistent when it comes to my play style. And for me, I like to. We've had a lot of pretty good nights lately, but I always say like, hey, sometimes things won't go our way, and when that happens, you just kind of have to like move on. You took your risk and it didn't pan out, but I like the plays. Boggy and Ivy are out too. Like, there's so many good reasons to play the Pistons. It's gonna be really hard to find a reason not to. No worries, man. Marcus Hopkins said, what's your advice on playing single entry? So I'm not playing single entry tonight. It's not something that I do a ton of, but I have had some success in single entry. Obviously not as much as when I MME. But I have had like a few 5-figure wins in single entry contests. My rule of thumb is not anything too creative. It's I play the 6 chalky guys that I like the most at positions, and then 1 or 2 of my leverage plays pop in my single entry lines too. So pretty much I eat the chalk and find 1 to 2 pivot spots. I don't really focus on a particular position. Just choose 2 of my leverage plays is what I've always done. Nice. Yeah, same, Jimmy. I'm just too set. I'm too stuck in my ways. I've had times where I tried to play both websites, and it's weird. I actually win more consistently on FanDuel, but my bigger wins, like 6-figure wins, have been on DraftKings, and so I just like the upside more. But both sides are fine. Next up, we have the Hornets. This is another fun one. PJ Washington's listed as doubtful. Cody Martin's out. Bryce McGowan's is available. Kelly Oubre only played 22 minutes off the bench on Saturday, so JT Thor actually started on Saturday. Um, he did absolutely nothing with those minutes. Your guy JT Thor, as you can see here, is a very low points per minute player. So he's always interesting. Like at 3K, it's like, oh, like if he does anything while he's out there, pretty good odds of, making value. But 9 times out of 10, he doesn't do anything. So not really the kind of play I try to force too much exposure to. But again, not a guy I'm going to exile my player pool. If the domination station wants to put him into 1 or 2 lines, I'm fine with that. LaMelo Ball is expensive. He's chalky, but I love the matchup, especially with more and more guys from the Pistons being out. The thing that does worry me a little bit is if the spread continues to increase a little bit, maybe there's a chance of a blowout, but the Hornets aren't a great team. And if there is a blowout, I feel like LaMelo Ball would be a pretty good part of that. So with Joel Embiid, I was like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm probably around field weight. I don't love the matchup as much, so I'm not really trying to go over the field. With LaMelo Ball, he's chalky, but I'm totally fine being above 50% on him. Probably not a leverage play just because of how popular he already is, but I'm not against him being a core play. Terry Rozier, I wish was slightly less popular, but I like his upside. The sim model likes him a good bit, so he's definitely on my radar. Kelly Oubre is hard to trust coming off the bench and only playing like low 20s in minutes, so he's not really someone that I'm super excited about. Gordon Hayward apparently has a ceiling again, so he's viable. Not someone I'm excited about, but the domination station puts him into some of my lines, so be it. Mark Williams, I'm interested in. I want to look a little bit deeper into how he did on Saturday and what happened there with PJ Washington. Now, if he had an increase in rebounds or assists or usage, and if his minutes were more secure on Saturday. I just want to dig a bit deeper into that before I kind of make any bold statements. But he's someone that I'm definitely considering at least going overweight on from an ownership standpoint. Potential leverage play, but probably won't reach that much excitement on him. I'll probably at least be over the field, but I don't know if I'll be able to be double the field on him. That might be asking for a little bit too much on a 4-gamer. Mega Royal said in the last 30 days, the Spurs are just as bad versus centers. Yeah, the Spurs are god awful everywhere. Wayne Perry said, yeah, I can't do the fan duel. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, same. I just like high upside. I think that's it for me. Mega Royal said in the last 30 days, the Pelicans are just as bad as the Hornets at center. That's crazy. I wish they are on this slate. Nice. Well, that's good to realize too, which is interesting. And I like we'll get to that game. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. That's good, man. That's good. Yeah, you're not wrong. But Mark Williams is definitely on my radar. Outside of that, we'll let the domination station do its thing. But I like Mark Williams. I like Terry Rozier. I like LaMelo Ball tonight for sure against a bad Pistons team. Yeah, see, the spread's increasing already. That's 7.5. We literally just saw it was 6.5. Curious to see if that jumps anymore. Next game on slate, not my favorite, but I'll have exposure to out of necessity just because of what the Celtics are doing. From an injury news standpoint, Jaylen Brown is out. Clearly, everyone knows that's gigantic for this team. Derek White is probable. Gallinari is out still. When Brown is out, Derek White has a 6.8% increase in usage rate. That's huge. Tatum has a 2.6%. Brogdon has a 2.2%. Tatum, right up there with me with LaMelo. Like him a little bit less than LaMelo's, like LaMelo, Tatum for me, but Tatum's in a fantastic spot. 10,200 isn't too much to ask for, so I feel like I'll have plenty of him today. Want to make sure that he's showing up in my lines. Brogdon, if he stays this low owned, more than happy to make him a leverage play. He's definitely on my radar. Marcus Smart is also on my radar as a leverage play. And then Derek White is my favorite play out of the bunch of the Celtics, but his ownership is making it a little bit hard for me to like solidify making him a leverage play. But I definitely plan on being over the field on him. Robert Williams, we know the upside he brings, the upside he has on the table. I don't want to fade him, but there's other centers I like more. And that's the problem we run into on so many of these slates. It's just that there's so many good center plays. Um, so preferably I'll be around field weight exposure to him, not over or under, but I don't know how probable that's going to be on this slate. We've already talked about some of the bigs I like a lot more, and there's more as we move on in the other games. So primarily for me, the guys that I am going to make sure I have exposure to are Tatum, Brogdon, Smart, and White. Outside of that, would like to see some Time Lord, but not my biggest priority, unfortunately. For the Knicks, not as interested in them because everyone is healthy, but we all know that the Knicks are the team that randomly has a guy go off that breaks the slate. I think we saw on Friday, or was it Thursday? That was Randall. Some slates it's Brunson. The matchup isn't really favorable for any of them, but I do want to dig a little bit deeper to see if we can find a sneaky play in here, but I just like the other game environments a lot more, to be honest. So doubt is a spot I'm trying to force. So quick recap, not the biggest fan of this game, not the biggest fan of the Knicks, love the Pistons, love the Hornets, love the Celtics. Kind of how I'm running it. And then last game on the slate is always one of my favorite games, just because how I usually tend to play it. For the Magic, Isaac is out. That's Jonathan Isaac is out. Michael Carter Williams is TBD. We'll see what happens there. I am biased against the Magic. I realize that. I like to make sure I let you guys know when I'm biased against a team. Not a team I love forcing exposure to. Mega Royal pointed out that the Pelicans have been really bad against bigs. I'll dig a little bit deeper into my research to see if I can find a reason to take a shot on Carter Jr. or Fultz. Those are probably the two that I'm most interested in. Outside of that, just not super excited about it, to be honest. And that's due to matchup, just nothing really standing out from a price standpoint. The only argument I can find is just that they're all pretty low owned. So it wouldn't take much for me to get leverage on them on a 4-game slate. I'm always more willing to take shots like that. The Pelican side of things, I'm a bit more interested in. So first things first, Larry Nance Jr. is out. I think a lot of you guys know when Larry Nance Jr. is out, my interest in Joval goes up tenfold. And at 14% ownership, I can get 30%, and that's a nice leverage play. So he's definitely on my radar as a potential leverage play on this slate. Feeling pretty good about solidifying that. CJ McCollum is also right up there for me. Matchup's fine. Nothing too special, but I just like his upside at 7,400 when Zion is out still. And Brandon Ingram is a little bit tougher for me to stomach. Let's see what the sim model thinks about Ingram. Yeah, it likes him. It likes Ingram a good bit. So it likes Ingram and it likes CJ a little bit more. So yeah, both of them are on my radar. With Ingram, to be honest, though, I'll probably be closer to field weight, whereas with CJ, he's a potential leverage play for me, along with Joe Bow. So yeah, guys, I mean, nice 4-game slate on deck. For me, the teams that I'll have the most exposure to are the Pistons, Hornets, Celtics, and Pelicans. And then the Magic, Knicks, Sixers, and Heat are going to be more like 1 or 2 off kind of plays for me, not guys I'm really trying to force a ton of exposure to unless they have a ton of unless something just really starts standing out for me. So anyway, appreciate y'all's support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Look forward to seeing y'all later today on the Pre-Lock Show. Reminder, it's at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace out. Have a good rest of y'all's day. Have a good